Somebody who's been fairly vocal about it is local filmmaker Craig Hornby. Craig, morning to you.
Good morning.
So, for or against?
Absolutely against.
Why?
Because it doesn't speak to local people. It doesn't say anything to local people. It's a multi-million-pound missed opportunity to make a landmark, iconic piece of art that is inspired by our past and looks to the future. And the concept I suggested in my letter to the Gazette and on my website, and what I said to Ray Mallon in his office 3 years ago when my film was doing the rounds and packing them in with such, passion for our true culture, our true cultural identity, they didn't want to know.
All right, what about the Angel of the North then? When that went up, people said exactly the same thing. Look at that now.
Okay, the Angel of the North. I would say I'm against these things in principle because the local people from here aren't consulted. They aren't involved in the creative consultative process, truly. Do you know? This thing was just launched in the Gazette, the front and back page, and the following 3 or 4 pages afterwards. And they launch it like it's like Tees Valley Regeneration. Joe Doherty's saying, he's announcing it like it's like we're all going to win the polls. This is going to enhance our lives. It's not going to enhance people's lives. In a place like Teesside, which is, classically, economically struggled over the years, and now we're in this credit crunch, to announce this, it's merely going to serve to alienate people from the arts more, when we could have something that is truly inspiring, and that is genuinely targeting local people to inspire them. And if we based a piece of sculpture on our true history, the infant Hercules, for example, is my idea, then you're going to reach people. Then you're going to think, well, hang on, no, this is pretty awesome. This is such a missed opportunity. It makes my blood boil.
So what exactly would you have? You've just mentioned there the infant Hercules. What exactly would you put there?
Well, if you think about the infant Hercules idea, which was this young sort of figure, and it wrestles with two snakes, is the classic image. Now, when Gladstone visited Middlesbrough in 1862, he came to this mecca of iron production that was absolutely changing the face of the world, of industry, absolutely, right? And he likened it to an infant Hercules. To spell it out, what it means is, it was a mighty young thing that was going to get mightier. And this figure, this young town, was wrestling with these snakes of molten iron, girders, iron bars. There's all kinds of potential there. Genuinely, truly, authentically, rooted in our culture that's been undermined for years, by lack of ambition. And now what we're getting is this, a folly. Now, they're saying this form, this shape, and this materials is inspired by Middlesbrough. It reflects Middlesbrough's heritage. Now, I would advise every listener now to go to my website, pancrack.tv, and check out the news page, because on there I put pictures of a piece of art that Anish Kapoor, the artist behind Temenos, did in 2002 at the Tate Modern in London, and it was a piece called Marsyas. And look at that form and shape, and then look at Temenos. It's virtually the same thing. This idea that we're using cables and stainless steel to reflect our heritage is a fraud, in my opinion. We didn't make stainless steel in Teesside, We made iron bars and girders and rails,
People are going to say that you're going to lack vision here. Here's the area now trying to move forward, and it's same old Middlesbrough. Whatever happens, whatever new is suggested for the area, there's always somebody who's going to say, what a load of cobblers, and it's going to be another missed opportunity if we were to listen to people like you. What would you say to those people?
I would say, why are people so happy to take the first thing that's been put on the table? And I'd say to the people who are going to be in that planning committee today in Middlesbrough Town Hall, they're going to be like nodding muppets around that table saying, OK, great, it's a big piece of art, we've got to get it. Apparently this guy's won the Turner Prize, which is a big deal. So, let's take this. Why should we settle for second best? Why should we take something that's purely abstract? Why shouldn't we not go for something that means something, that speaks to everybody in the area, you see? Because everybody in the area, pretty much, let's face it, we all have links to industry. I packed people in to see my film from South Bank to Stokesley, of all backgrounds, of all ages, who were absolutely clamouring for it,
All right, Craig, thanks very much for talking to us. Now, there's the view the view against. It probably is going to get passed. So Temenos, that amount of money is coming. So what do you think? Do you agree with Craig, or do you think he's a bit of an old stick in the mud? And it's time, the past has got to be celebrated. You've got to look forward to the future. Godfrey Worsdale, director of Mima in Middlesbrough. Morning to you.
Good morning.
It's not as bad as that, is it?
Well, I think you've got to take this as a very, very small part of the overall equation. Inevitably, every time I meet an artist and talk to them about Middlesbrough and Teesside generally, the view is that, this is one of the things we always bear in mind here is the great industrial heritage. Well, everyone recognises that. It's internationally important. Infant Hercules, driver of the Industrial Revolution. No one can ever take that for granted. It's crucial. But I think where I depart slightly with Craig is that the precise details of the technicalities and definitions of which metal, I think that will be lost probably on most people. And I think what's important about this is we've got an absolutely fantastic, world-class, iconic public artwork coming to Middlesbrough, and people are talking about it literally all over the world.
It's part of a series of 5, isn't it, which is going to be placed in each of the Tees Valley boroughs. It is going to have a positive effect, isn't it? Yes, we want to keep hold of tradition in the area and the heritage, but it's time to move forward a little bit, isn't it?
Well, I think you've got to... Any good, sensible place will do both of those very, very important things. I mean, my job in Middlesbrough is slightly broader than most people know. Yes, on the one hand, I am responsible for Mima. I'm also responsible for the Dorman Museum. Yeah. I'm also responsible for the Captain Cook Birthplace Museum. And in those 3 venues, I hope we address the history of Middlesbrough, well, the history with Captain Cook before Middlesbrough was even established, and a person from this area who went all around the world and did great things. We've got the Dorman Museum that in fine detail investigates the industrial heritage, the recent history, the social history of the town. And then in Mima, we're looking at modern and contemporary art and looking even into the 21st century. So I think we don't take anything for granted. All those things are of huge and equal importance. But this is a huge step forward for this area. It's a huge step forward for Britain, to be honest.
What would you say then to people like Craig, and we've had 1 or 2 other people who are against it and says, why that sculpture? Why weren't we consulted on it? Why didn't you ask the people what they thought?
Well, I think this is a tricky one because art is not something you can really do very easily by committee. You can always consult and you can always collect people's views. But the interesting thing with public art for me is a very, very delicate thing. I mean, a lot of the work we do in Mima, we know art is always something that people will have an opinion about. But when we stick something on the wall in Mima, A, people have to come in to see it, so they've made a choice. And B, we put things up and we take them down. And you might not like that exhibition, you might love the one after. Public art, A, it's in your face, so if you walk by that particular place every day, you're going to see it like you to a lump it. And B, it's there for a long, 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 long time. But I look at history and I look at the way that these things have evolved over time, and I wasn't in Middlesbrough at the time, but I speak to people who were around when Oldenburg's Bottle of Notes was proposed, and how there was a very nervous response to that idea, and now that's become one of the great, great icons of this town. I remember the debates that surrounded Anthony Gormley's Angel of the North, and again, the view was very strongly, well, in general terms, a lot of dissent. But these things, they accrue passion and enthusiasm as they go along. And I think if you were to wander up to Gateshead and propose the idea of maybe selling the Angel of the North to a city in America, I think that there'd be trouble on the streets. And I think the work that's been proposed for Middlehaven, fingers crossed that happens, because I'm sure in 10 years' time we'll look back and Middlesbrough will be a better place for it. But I think, opinion is important, but I think also so is bravery sometimes. And I think Middlesbrough and the towns in the Tees Valley are showing bravery, and I think they'll be rewarded for it.
Just to put one argument to bed, if you could, very quickly. People who turn around and say £2.7 million, that's a disgusting amount of money. They should be spending it on the health service or doing up the roads or doing this, that and the other with it. It's not as simple as that. It's a completely different pot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that absolutely. If you take the idea away, you take the money away. It's as simple as that. But I think in a more sort of taking the lens back on that argument a bit, no one ever is going to question the importance of healthcare or social services or anything like that. But you've also got to think about what can make a place great, make a place somewhere where people want to come, want to live, want to work, want to spend. And so by investing in art, investing in cultural activities and attractions, you are actually putting money into the economy as well as spending money. And I think once a public art like this is in place, it's not just going to be here for the next financial year, it's going to be here for the next century and more.